Good morning, and thank you, Chair Murray. Thank you, Vice Chair Collins, and thanks to all of the members of this committee for the opportunity to speak with you today alongside my colleagues from the Biden-Harris administration. A month ago, I was in North Carolina and Tennessee visiting some of the communities impacted by Hurricane Helene. I saw entire lanes of I-40 demolished and collapsed into the gorge below, washed out by heavy rainfall, likely exacerbated by climate change. I spoke to families, to small business owners, and community leaders about how this catastrophic storm impacted their lives and livelihoods, and about what they need in the short term and for the long haul. And I met with first responders who have been working tirelessly to help the people in these communities as they contend with the loss of homes, the loss of businesses, and the loss of life. In the weeks since, the Biden-Harris administration has continued to direct extensive, well-coordinated support to the communities devastated by these storms. We're working alongside state and local governments, nonprofit groups, and volunteer organizations in the ongoing response and recovery efforts. We've been working to combat an increasingly common and unequivocally harmful part of 21st century life, the rapid spread of falsehoods that we've come to call misinformation and disinformation across digital media, which in this case included the work of the Federal Aviation Administration, which acts to facilitate response and recovery while keeping our airspace safe. As of today, the U.S. Department of Transportation, through our Federal Highway Administration Emergency Relief, or ER, program, has delivered $187 million in funding to communities in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia, as well as the federal land management agencies in these states to support immediate needs. These funds are being put to immediate use to get roads and bridges repaired and reopened and deal with disruptions in the meantime. Already, we've seen how these funds are facilitating recovery, helping open US 276 near Caesars Head in Greenville County, South Carolina, and continuing the ongoing work along I-26 and I-40 between North Carolina and Tennessee to restore access to those critical roadways. As valuable as that work has been, the present reality is that our department will soon lack the funding to address additional needs resulting from the recent hurricanes and other prior disasters, as well as needs from future storms or other disasters. And that's because the amount of FHWA emergency relief funding being requested from numerous states far exceeds the amount of money that's available. Helene recovery alone will require extensive ongoing investment to permanently rebuild the roads and bridges destroyed by the storm. Meanwhile, we continue to have unmet need for recovery in states like Alaska, Hawaii, Maryland, and Nevada that qualify for FHWA funding to rebuild transportation infrastructure after other recent disasters. With each passing day, we are growing closer to a situation where this department will not be able to provide even partial funding for eligible projects. Consider communities in Arkansas, California, and Oklahoma that have been impacted by floods, tornadoes, and wildfires, or the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Maryland, or the Teton Pass in Wyoming. We currently lack the funds to permanently rebuild the infrastructure in these communities and many others across the country, even though they are eligible. President Biden's requested approximately $8.1 million for the ER program. These funds would cover the backlog of projects waiting for funding, as well as the needs of states from Hurricanes Helene and Milton. I also want to note that in addition to funding for that Federal Highway Administration program, President Biden has also requested $57 million for the Federal Transit Administration's Public Transportation Emergency Relief Program to assist transit agencies that were impacted by and supported local response efforts during Helene, Milton, and other disasters. There is an urgent need today for Congress to act to provide supplemental funding to support communities across this country grappling with disasters. This would not be the first time Congress has risen to the occasion. We saw it after Hurricanes Katrina, Rita, and Wilma in 2005, more recently in 2018 following Hurricanes Harvey, Irma, and Maria. Now the American people, including the communities in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, Florida, and Georgia, are counting on Congress to act. As we gather today, we know that investing in resilient infrastructure up front can save lives and reduce the cost of rebuilding. That's why USDOT prioritizes resilient infrastructure in its discretionary grant programs. And through the PROTECT program created through the bipartisan infrastructure law, we're deploying the first ever formula and discretionary funds dedicated to making our infrastructure more resilient. We are seeing the reality of climate change in real time. Weather events that were previously deemed once in a century are coming along every few years. It is not a fluke, it is not a coincidence, and most importantly, it is not going to go away. We need adequate and sustained funding to make sure our communities have what they need to rebuild roads and bridges, to make them more resilient in the face of extreme weather and other disasters, and to help people return to normal life as quickly as possible. With your partnership, I know we can deliver the critical support that's needed right now for our transportation infrastructure, for farmers and ranchers dealing with crop loss, and for families and small business owners who need to rebuild their homes and schools and storefronts and lives. Thank you for welcoming me here today, and I look forward to working alongside you as we help these communities recover and build back stronger and more resilient for the future.
Thank you very much.